You know that feeling when you snag a budget electric guitar online, only to discover a handful of weeks later that the neck feels flimsy, the tone dies on the low strings, and the finish chips the first time you walk it through a gig? It's a regret that haunts a lot of beginners and even some seasoned players who try to save a few bucks. That hesitation is why I wanted to take a deeper look at the Ibanez Paul Wagoner Signature PWM20 in white stain before anyone clicks add to cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The question I keep asking myself is, does this signature model actually deliver a smarter purchase than those cheap knockoffs, or is it just another pretty-looking piece of wood that looks the part but falls short in real-world use? First off, let's talk about the category you're stepping into. A solid-body electric guitar with a signature name attached usually promises a blend of the artist's tone preferences and a certain level of build quality that justifies a higher price tag. In the case of the PWM20, you're getting a full ash body, a three-piece maple bubing neck, and a rosewood fingerboard, plus 2 humbucking pickups finished in a striking white stain. Those are the ingredients that shape both the feel under your hands and the sound you'll hear through an amp. If you've ever tried a cheap off-brand humbucker set, you know the difference in output and clarity can be night and day. The PWM20's pickups are wired for a high output, tight response that cuts through a mix without getting muddy, exactly what you need when you're playing dense, down-tuned riffing in a metal band. I tested it by plugging into a 112 combo and a 4-amp stack, swapping between clean rhythm chops and full-gain lead lines. The low E stayed articulate, the mids had a pronounced growl, and the highs didn't scream, they just sat where a seasoned metal tone should sit, aggressive but controlled. That tonal character owes a lot to the ash body. Ash is known for a bright, snappy attack that adds definition to each note, especially when you're digging into fast alternate picking or palm-muted chugs. In a live venue with other instruments competing for space, that bite helped the PWM20 sit on top of the mix rather than being lost. It also contributed to a decent amount of sustain, something you'll notice if you like to hold notes for dramatic effect during solos. Now, let's move to the neck. The three-piece maple bubing construction is a little unusual for a signature model, and it's not just for show. Maple gives a tight snap that complements the ash body, while the bubinga adds weight and stability, helping the neck stay true even after long gigs or frequent travel. The shape is a medium-thick W profile, reminiscent of the necks Paul Wagoner himself uses. For players with larger hands or those who prefer a solid grip, that thickness feels reassuring. However, if you come from a standard C or U-shaped neck, the first few minutes can feel a bit cramped, especially when you're trying to execute fast legato runs on the higher frets. The rosewood fingerboard is a classic choice, offering a smooth feel and warm tonal contribution. When you bend strings for those expressive vibratos, the rosewood's natural oiliness reduces friction, making the bends feel effortless. In a practical sense, it also means you won't have to worry about the fretboard drying out quickly, just a quick wipe down now and then and you're good. So who should seriously consider the PWM20? If you're a guitarist who spends a lot of time in heavier genres, progressive metal, post-hardcore, gent, or you're a fan of Paul Wagoner's work with Between the Buried and Me and want a guitar that's already dialed into his tonal palette, this is a strong candidate. It also makes sense for intermediate players who have already outgrown entry-level models and are looking for a more refined instrument without stepping into the boutique realm where prices can skyrocket. The built-in high-output humbuckers mean you can plug straight into a high-gain amp or a digital modeler and get a solid foundation, saving you the time and expense of swapping pickups later. On the flip side, there are clear cases for skipping this one. Beginners on a tight budget might still find better value in a lower-priced, more forgiving model that comes with a slimmer neck profile and a lighter body, especially if they're still figuring out what feels comfortable. Also, if you're a player who needs a versatile instrument that can convincingly handle clean jazz chords, bright country twang, or classic blues licks, the PWM20's dedicated humbucker setup leans heavily toward high-gain territory. You could force it to sound cleaner, but you'd be fighting the natural voicing of those pickups. In that sense, a guitar with a single coil or an HSS configuration would give you more tonal flexibility without needing external pedals. Now, let's get into the practical strengths that become evident after you unbox and set the guitar up. The first thing I noticed was the balance. The ash body.